Very good morning, dear students. So, this video is going to help those aspirants who are preparing for any type of competitive examinations. We can say CUET, CPET, UC NET, JRF, or any type of PGT examinations that is confined to the economic subject. So, we are going to discuss the past year previous year or the previous year question paper, that is your common university entrance test or CUET, which is conducted by National Testing Agency or NTA. So this year the exam was conducted in the month of March. So our discussion will be confined to within the subject economics, or we are going to discuss the paper of economics, and the total number of question contains 75 question, and the time duration is given to you 1 hour 45 minutes, and within that time period we have to appear 75 questions. Earlier there were 100 questions and 25 question of general aptitude, we can say, and 75 question containing your subject specific. So this year some changes has been made by the CUET or exam pattern, that is by your NTA, and this year only there will be your subject specific question paper and 75 questions, and the time duration is given to you 1 hour 45 minutes. Within that only you have to appear there 75 questions. So let's come to the discussion of the question paper. So question number 1, in the question number 1 it is given that arrange the following events on the chronological order. So you have to make the chronological order of the following options. In the options it is given that the new economic policy, that we all are aware about the new economic policy or the LPG principle that was introduced in the year 1991, and we have also know the famous drain of wealth theory that was given by Dadabhai Naroji. In this a famous book he has written by analyzing the exploitations made by the British East India Company in India, that is poverty and on British rule in India, that was published in the year 1867, and under that book he has clearly mentioned how the drain of wealth has happened in India. Okay, so point number C, that is your white revolution. Point number C is your white revolution, the different types of revolution, agricultural revolutions in India. So among white revolution, that is also known as the Operation Flood, the father of the white revolution was your Varghese Kurian, and this white revolution was introduced in the year 1970 to improve the milk production in India. And point number D, that is monopolies inquiry commissions under the recommendation of the PC Mohalanavis. Okay, a committee was set up, that is your Dasgupta committee, or it is also known as your Dasgupta committee. So this monopolies inquiry commission was established in the year 64, and the report was published in the year 1965. So if you arrange this in the chronological order, the sequencing, the first will be your drain of wealth theory 1867, so option B. Then 1964 monopolies inquiry commission, the option D. Then 1970 option C, that is white revolution. Then next come to your new economic policy or LPG principle 1991 option A. So if you arrange this chronologically, which option is correct? We can see BDCA. Here the option 2, that is your BDCA, is correct. Okay, so in this way we can solve this problem. I have already given you in a sequencing manner what are the new economic policy. It was introduced in the year 1991, and in the month of July, 24 July 1991, at that time the Prime Minister was P.V. Narasimha Rao and the Finance Minister was Manmohan Singh. And what was the major objective of this new economic policy? The objective of economic policy was the creating more competitive environment in economy and removing barriers to entry and the government growth of farms. It means the Indian economies tried to open up the economy okay, by introducing the liberalization privatization policy. So what was the measure adopted? The measure adopted for the short term goal, stabilization measures were adopted, and for the long term goal, the structural reforms has been made. Okay, so these are the two things. The For the short term issues in the economy, stabilization measures, and for the long term goals, the structural reforms measures had been taken. Then next come to the some brief about your 1991 policy. Earlier there were some economic policies, or after 1991 the drastic change has happened in Indian economic policy reforms, and a new measures has been taken for the long term, for the both and long term and short term, that I have already discussed. And the what was the policy? The policy was liberalization, privatization, and globalization, we can say. And this was introduced in the 1991. At that time, the Prime Minister was P.V. Narasimha Rao, and Finance Minister was Manmohan Singh. Okay. So next come to the drain of wealth. The detail about the drain of wealth theory. This drain of wealth theory explains the British exploitations in Indian economy. Drain of wealth theory refers to the continuous transfer of India's national wealth to England without any adequate commercial material benefit to India. Without giving any benefit to the India's wealth got transferred to England. In which way it has been transferred? So that has clearly mentioned in the book, that is Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, that was written by Dadabhai Naoroji, and this book was published in the year 1867. So the different economists, they have studied the how the drain of wealth has happened during the pre-British or during the British period, not pre-British, during the British period. So Dadabhai Naoroji and Ramesh Chandra Dutt, M.G. Ranade, William Digboy, all these economists have discussed, they have discussed or they have analyzed how the drain of wealth has happened during that British exploitation period. Okay. So the question was asked from the different types of agricultural revolutions in India, and that list that I have already given you, who was the father of the revolution and what was the time period, and it is confined to which product, the particular revolution is confined to which product. So our question was on the white revolution. It is also known as the Operation Flood, and that is confined to the milk production, and it was introduced in the year 1970, and the father of this white revolution was Verghese Kurian. Okay. Then there are different numerous agricultural revolutions are there in India. The famous are the green revolutions, that is confined to food grain, that is rice and wheat, and it was introduced in the year 1966 or 67. And in the world, the father of the green revolution was Norman Borlaug, but in India the father of the green revolution was M.S. Swaminathan. Okay. So these are different types of revolution. Grey revolution is confined to the fertilizers production, and blue revolution for the fish production, and it was the father of the revolution was blue revolution was Dr. Arun Krishnan. And there is another revolution called red revolution, that is confined to the meat and tomato product, and introduced in the year 1980 by Vishal Tiwari. Yellow revolution confined to well seed production, introduced in 1986, and it was by Sam Pitroda. Famously, Sam Pitroda is a news because of the word inheritance tax. Brown revolution is confined to the leather and cocoa production, and it was the father of this brown revolution was Harilal Chaudhary. So there are so many different types of revolutions I have already given you. You can go through this because the question is asked from this particular area. So the question may be in a chronological order, the question may be in a match the column, okay, by giving the year or father or particular product confined to that. So different types of question may be from this particular topic. Okay, so you can go through this, and here it is about your Operation Flood or milk revolution. The father of the milk revolution, as you know, that it was Dr. Verghese Kurian, and during that time period he was the head of Kera District Cooperative Milk Producers Union, also called Amul right now, and it was launched in 1970 in the Gujarat, MP, UP, and Rajasthan. Okay, so main focus was to improve the milk production. So this is all about your operational flood or the milk revolution. So agriculture revolution in India, here it is revolution is given and the particular product is given, and here the father of the revolution is given, the father of the different types of agriculture revolution, it is here given. You can, the most of the question is asked from this particular slide, so you can go through this. So next come to you Monopolies Inquiry Commission. The report was submitted in the year 1965, but the commission was set up in the year 1964. The Mahalanobis Committee recommendation was accepted by who recommend this Monopolies Inquiry Commission? It was recommended by Mahalanobis Committee, and it was also accepted by the government under the Commissions of Inquiry Act 1952. Commissions of Inquiry Act 1952 accepted the Mahalanobis recommendations, and a Monopolies Inquiry Commission was established in the year 1964, and this commission was headed by Justice K.C. Dasgupta. Therefore, it is also known as the Dasgupta Commission, and the major term of reference to this commission was to inquire into the extent and effect of concentration of the power in private hands and prevalence of monopolistic activities, and also to suggest necessary legislation in the light of such inquiry. It means how the monopolies power has been exercised by different types of private player and the exploitation is being made. So for that particular reasons, and what is the intensity and how they are exploiting the people, how they are behaving or how they are exercising their monopoly power. So that has been uh, analyzed by Dasgupta Commission, and some recommendations has been made by this commission to the government of India, and this report was submitted in the year 1965. And what was the observation of this committee? There were dangers from the concentrated economic powers, monopolistic practices, and they exist in large measure at present potentially. So the government has to minimize these dangers. So after that, the MRPT Act 1969 was framed. MRPT Act, Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices 1969. The government made this type of policy measures to restrict the monopoly power. So this is all about the question number 1 and their discussions. So let's move on to the question number 2. And the question number 2, it is given there are two lists, list 1 and list 2, and we have to match this list 1 and list 2, and it is here given the externalities and the types of externalities. This is the question is asked from the market failure. The content there is your market failure that is remain in your public finance as well as in your microeconomics. So there are different types of market failure cause, we can say the public good, presence of public good, inequality, monopoly, merit good, and factor immobility, agriculture, cyclical instability, externalities, demerit goods. So that we have given the question here from externalities. Okay, so let's go to this, what do you mean by externalities and what are the types of externalities, then we'll go to the answer section. Then externalities and market failure. So what do you mean by externality? Externality simply means the, suppose a person is doing something or producing or consuming something, if that will affect to the third party or other, it is called externality. For example, the externalities are spillover effects arising from production consumption for which no appropriate compensation is paid. And for example, I am saying that a person is using the refrigerator, but this refrigerator is responsible for the global warming or the heat, because refrigerator generates huge amount of the heat, and that heat leads to the what, global warming or the climate change, and because of that there is different type of natural calamities is happening. So or the person is not paying, the person using the refrigerator is not paying the compensation, any type of compensations, those who are affected by the natural calamities, we can say because of the climate change. Okay, and but they are responsible. So this type of effect, we can say there is a negative externalities effect, we can say. And the positive externality effect, we can say, suppose there are two individuals, or they both are neighbors, individual A and B, and individual A has a garden, a beautiful garden, and the person B is enjoying the garden by opening the window. So the person A has made the arrangement, but B is making the benefit of that. Okay, so therefore it is benefiting the third party. So if the externalities or any activity that benefits the third party is known as positive externality, we can say. Okay, so we'll discuss in detail about that. So externality simply means if someone do anything or make production or consumption, if that affects to the what other parties in a positive way or a negative way, that is called your externality. And for that we are not giving any compensations to that third party, or any um, compensation to that third party. Okay, so externalities cause the market failure. So externality is a major cause for the what market failure, because under the market mechanism, it does not take into account the social cost and the social benefits of production and consumption. Therefore market fails, market mechanism fails in that case. So externalities can be of the positive or negative, that I have already told you. The example I have that is given, positive externality and negative externality. So when consumer or producer, when a consuming a producing a good causes a benefit to the third party, if it benefit to the third party, then it is positive externality. But if it cost to the third party, it is called negative externality. For example, it is given here, you can see all types of pollution, we can say that is coming under the negative externality. Okay, next come to the what are the consumption externalities and production externalities. For the consumption and production externalities, I have here written something or keynotes. Then for the production, we have to look into this marginal social cost and marginal private cost. It means for the production we have to talk about the cost aspect, but for the consumption measurement we have to talk about the benefit aspect. Okay, so here we will talk in the consumption marginal social benefit and marginal private benefit. Okay, and in this way we can say the positive or the negative. Production positive externality will be when the social marginal cost is less than private marginal cost. If the cost is less of the society as compared to the private, then it is called positive production externality. But negative production externality, when there is a negative production externality, when the cost, social cost is greater than the private cost, it is called production negative externalities. Then consumption positive externality, when it arises when the social benefit is greater than private benefit. And consumption negative externality will arise when the social benefit or is less than your private benefit. Okay, so here these are the some diagrams. So let's first discuss the different types of conditions that I have already clearly mentioned to you, all these points in a short note. You can go through this. The negative externalities from production, where it occurs and what are the examples, and positive externalities from production and what is this example, and positive externalities from production, what is the examples, meaning and examples, and negative externalities from production, what is the meaning and example. Okay, so this is the diagram. In the diagram we have to see here the negative production externality. Negative production externality means marginal social cost. Production we have to link with the cost, and marginal social cost, when the social cost is greater, it means social cost curve is above the private cost curve, it is called negative production externalities. And negative consumption externality, when the consumption means we have to look into the benefit curve, okay, or the marginal benefit curve. And the negative consumption externality, it means private benefit is greater and social benefit is less. So here the private benefit curve will lies above to the marginal benefit of social marginal benefit curve. Okay, next the positive consumption externality. Positive consumption externality is a case where the marginal social benefit is greater than marginal private benefit. Though we are dealing with the consumption, and though it is dealing with the positive aspect, then the social benefit will be greater as compared to the private benefit. So the social benefit curve lies above to the private benefit curve. Next, positive production externality. Though we are confined to the production, then we must talk about the cost, and the social marginal cost is less than the what your marginal private cost, we can say. If the private cost is greater and social cost is less, so in that case we have the positive production externality. So therefore the private marginal cost curve lies above to the social marginal cost curve. So these are the some diagrams I have clearly mentioned, you can go through these. So here it is also given the positive externality in consumption in detail, the case about the positive externality in consumption and how the dead waste loss happen and the examples, and these are the negative externality in consumption. Okay, and this is the example that positive externality in production and examples. So you can go through all these negative externality in production and different types of examples. So now just move on to the how this externality can be solved. How this externality can be solved? The PYQ has made a very good arrangement without the government, or we can say how the government tackles this type of externalities. So in the year 1920, A.C. PYQ wrote a book called The Economies of Welfare. The Economies of Welfare. It was written by Arthur C. PYQ, or the A.C. PYQ, we can say, in the year 1920. The PYQ noted that the private business pursued their own interest. It means private business always their motive is own interest. It means own marginal benefit. Okay, they try to minimize the cost and try to maximize the benefit. Okay, this is the main objective. They are not concerned about the welfare aspect. Okay, so how to minimize that, the externalities, the different types of negative externalities arising from the different types of production and consumptions, and how to improve the positive externality in the society. He has made the very good recommendations overcoming the externalities. So we require some of the government interventions. So there are government intervention needed on the basis of the taxation and subsidy. So those production and the consumption activities who are generating the negative externalities, then we should tax them, and those consumption and the production activities which are involved for the generating the positive externalities, we should make arrangement for the subsidy. The best example for the different types of air pollution and water pollution, we are giving, or we are the government is making arrangement the taxation system, and those who are generating the positive externalities like your solar panel use, electrical vehicle use, all these are, so government is providing different types of subsidies. Okay, so I think we have already discussed the two questions, but we have to go through the different dimensions, so then only the question can be asked from any ground. So those who are preparing for any type of competitive examinations, please do prepare in this way, so that your, if any type of question will be asked from this particular type, you can able to answer this. So after discussing meaning of externalities and types of externalities, let's solve the questions. Okay, so by giving the example and by looking to the concept, we have to solve this question. First, A option is there: apple farmer who has orchard next to a beekeeper. Option B, villages downstream from a manufacturing plant. An unvaccinated family living next door to a family who has received the COVID-19 vaccination. The rice farmer who has his field next to the chemical plant. So as you know that this is the positive externality of consumption, because a vaccinated family and there is another unvaccinated family, they are living there. So the vaccinated family um, giving the positive externalities of consumption to the unvaccinated family. So this is the C is positive consumption externalities, CI, we can say CI, and rice farmer who has his field next to the chemical plant. If there is a chemical plant and near there is a farmer rice or the paddy farm, so what will happen? That will negatively impact, that will pollute, or that will hamper to the what, the rice farmer. So there is a negative production externalities, we can say. So D, option D, that is IV. And villager downstream from a manufacturing plant. Villagers downstream from a manufacturing plant. It is from a manufacturing plant, and there is a downstream, you can say. So this option would be negative consumption externalities. And the apple farmer who has his orchard next to a beekeeper, then it is positive production externalities. Okay, so in this way, option B second, option A third. So option A third, B second, C I, and D IV. So A is correct. So option 1 is correct. So this is the we have to do in this way.